What is good, people? Welcome back to 8 Count. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the women's title fight, the co-main event of UFC 274 between Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza. This fight's going down this Saturday for the women's strawweight title. I think it's a really interesting fight, mainly because both women have fought before in the past. So yeah, I can't wait to get into this one with you. I've done a main event breakdown already on the channel, Justin Gaethje against Charles Oliveira. If you want to go check that out, feel free to go do that. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content surrounding boxing and MMA. And let's just get straight into it, guys. So it's a really interesting fight in my opinion, just because of the fact, this was the inaugural UFC strawweight title fight, but the roles are reversed now. Well, basically, Carla Esparza won the first one via third round rear naked choke. Rose Namajunas at the time was only 22. The fight took place 8 years ago in 2014, as I said, for the Ultimate Fighter finale. Yeah, man, I've just got finished watching this fight again. And for me, it's really weird watching it compared to seeing these two fighters now. I think both have improved an awful lot. I think you could say Carla's definitely become more comfortable on the feet compared to what she was. And I think Rose just looks like a completely different fighter. Watching the first fight 8 years ago, it's clear to see that, Rose was a lot younger and a lot more of a raw talent. She was rushing a lot of her work. She just looks so wild at times, and she definitely didn't look like the calm, composed and collected fighter she is today. You've seen at times Carla being able to catch certain kicks of Rose and get a takedown, which I thought was really interesting, because I think that's going to play a big part in this upcoming fight. But the weird thing is, since this fight, both women have been on completely different trajectories compared to what the Ultimate Fighter finale would have suggested. I think if we start off looking at Rose Namajunas, obviously she got the loss to Carla Esparza back in 2014. But since then, she went on a bit of a tear. Yes, she's had losses, but I think it's fair to say that she's always shown constant improvement, and she's always sort of looked different fight to fight. Like I said, she's taken losses. Her last win was a really controversial split decision in a lot of people's eyes, but she's constantly up to competition and constantly proven that she's one of the best female fighters in the world. Whereas Carla Esparza, after winning against Rose, went on a really weird streak. She fought a monster in Joanna Jędrzejczyk back then when she first came into UFC. And after that, she was kind of trading wins and losses, losing to the likes of Marcos. Went on a 3-fight losing skid to Cynthia Cavillo. Sorry. And Claudia Gadea and Tatiana Suarez. But since then, quite recently, since back in 2019, she's been on a bit of a tear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-fight win streak in last time she fought was last year, so we'll say 3 years. So yeah, she's been on a bit of a tear recently. I think if you look at the competition as well, you can say against some real quality opponents. I think Grasso's starting to show the quality of fighter she is today now. Waterson back then was, looking like she could do something. And Marina Rodriguez is an absolute beast. And against Yao Nan, I think she's shown that she's a really good prospect as well. So it's really interesting. I think the fact that, Rose lost the fight, in the first fight anyway, in a way, is actually super beneficial to her. I think looking back at the fighter that she was back then, I'm thinking the fact that she would have had to have faced a Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who was, sort of prime time coming into the UFC back then, it would have been a scary thought for her, because I think she would have got a really bad beating, like the fights which Joanna put on. She was beating the likes of Carla Esparza and Jessica Penne, and she was beating these girls up bad. And I think that Rose didn't have to take that beating. It was definitely beneficial for her, and she got to, you know, go back to the drawing board and fight and, you know, progress her way up the division, which I think allowed her to really build around her skill set and become the fighter she is today. Obviously, she got the 2 wins over Joanna Jędrzejczyk, which I think is super impressive, and I think only shows that it was a really good loss in the end for Rose Namajunas. Despite winning the first fight, I think Carla is the one who's going to have to make the most adjustments in this upcoming bout. Sorry. But yeah, I think she is... I think it's fair to say out of the two, Rose has definitely shown more potential and more promise as they've gone on in their UFC careers. I do think Carla has improved, but I do think the levels of where they were before, being kind of level-ish, maybe you put Carla just above her, just from experience probably. I think they've kind of changed in terms of, you know, who is the better fighter now. I think Rose is looking like the fighter who has so many more skills compared to Carla Esparza, and so many different more ways to win this fight. I think Carla's got to change her style a lot. I think if you look at the first fight, she was able to get away with a lot of stuff just because of the fighter Rose was back then. I think if she was to do certain things now, she'd be in a lot of trouble. For example, I think in the first fight, she was giving Rose a lot of time and space to work. And, you know, she was still having success with it. She's still be able to counter on takedowns, and I felt like that was because it was a younger Rose and it was a less experienced Rose really smothering her work. And, you know, I think if she fights with her back to the fence now and doesn't really look to pressure Rose as much, I think she's going to be in trouble, because I think Rose will really pick her apart and hurt her bad. You know, I think for Esparza, she doesn't really have enough, you know, power or techniques which I think could earn Rose's respect on the feet. So she's got to make do something similar to Kobe Covington and put a lot of pressure on Rose and a lot of volume, despite not maybe having the power. And I think that's what Kobe does in the welterweight division. Despite really having that knockout power, he's able to put together combinations and kind of constantly going forward. And I think that would do a lot of benefits for Carla Esparza. I think she needs to be able to put that pressure on Rose Namajunas, get her to back up, and I think that might give her a better chance of getting the takedowns as well. I think you saw her with a couple driving double legs in the first fight. I think she can go back to that as well, maybe catching Rose when she's coming into striking range. But like I said, I think Rose has shown so much improvement. That's going to be a really tough test. I think the footwork of Rose is going to give Carla a lot of problems. I think in the first fight, she was really chasing Carla. And like I said, rushing and smothering her work. I don't think we're going to see that in this fight. I think we're going to see a very composed and calm Rose Namajunas. I think if I was to make a prediction right now, I would predict Rose Namajunas, and the only reason I probably say that is I feel like there's multiple ways she can win this fight. I think she could grind out a decision if she needed to, and really control the fight and fight at the pace she wants to. I think she might get taken down a couple of times in this fight, and which we'll have to see a lot of difference from Rose compared to the first fight, where yes, she still had that really aggressive guard of a lot of different submission threats, but she was very, I guess you could say it was a really easy way, it was easier for Esparza to pass the guard. I think we're going to have to see Rose with a more maybe defensive mindset if she does get taken down, but I do think she could grind out a decision if she needs to. I think if you look at on the feet, I think there's multiple ways this could go. I think you could see Rose hurt her bad, maybe see her shell up along the fence and Rose kind of finish it there. I think you could see Rose really just start to get the better of Esparza, and maybe Esparza shoots in for a takedown and the neck's there for Rose and she'll get some sort of submission wins. I just think that other than the wrestling, I think she's the better fighter everywhere, and I find it hard to pick Esparza. I'd really like to see the odds now on this fight, because I think they should be pretty wide, you know, in favour of Rose Namajunas. They're a lot closer than I thought they were going to be. Minus 220, still a big favourite against plus 180, but I feel it's going to be really hard for Esparza to really get any good work going. My official prediction is going to be, I'm going to go with Rose Namajunas. Same as the main event, I'm going to go with a third round TKO for Rose Namajunas. I guess to finish this video off, I'll quickly just run through the rest of the card, just give you my quick thoughts on the other fights. Tony Ferguson against Chandler is a really fun fight. We're going to see if, is Tony really done now at the top level? I think it's fair to say, despite, the losses, Chandler has proven to be a top level UFC lightweight. And Ferguson, coming off the back of that skid against Gaethje, Oliveira, and there was another one, Beneil Dariush. I just think you look at the likes of him losing to someone like Beneil Dariush. I rate Dariush, but I don't think he should be on the level of what primetime Tony Ferguson was, and he was able to handle Ferguson quite easily and get the takedown. I don't think we're going to really see Chandler looking to take this fight to the ground. I think he's going to be looking to take the head off Tony Ferguson, and I think if he's defensively, I guess you could say, poor, or not worrying too much about the defense, I think he's going to be in big trouble. I do think at his age now, Tony's just really, I think Father Time has caught up to him, and I think he's going to struggle, man. I'm going to go with Chandler. He's a big favourite in this fight, -410 to +310. I think if you was doing a bet though, a shout on Ferguson might not be bad, but for me, if I was doing a picks or an ACCA, I'd definitely be going for Chandler. I think he's as close to a sure thing on this card as it does look like Ferguson isn't the fighter of old. Shogun Rua against Ovince St. Preux. I think this fight is in the wrong place. I think I said in the other video, I think it kind of slows down the pace and the momentum of the card. For me, I think this is a real tricky fight to pick, just because, Shogun has really started to look his age as of late. Yeah, he's got some impressive victories, but he is on the wrong side of 40 probably. I don't know how old he is now, but he's old as fuck. I remember when I was first coming into watching MMA when I was a kid, I think it was like around 2007, 2008-ish time. So yeah, I mean, Shogun's been around forever, man. I think back in the Pride days as well. But yeah, Ovince St. Preux for me, it's hard for me to put my pick on him because of the fact that he is what I'd consider more of an athlete than a fighter. I think he's a brilliant athlete, and as a fighter, he has had some brilliant results and performances. But what I mean by that is, I think if this fight, gets past the first round and he hasn't knocked out Mauricio, I think, you're going to see Mauricio in his face a lot, putting the pressure on him, kind of similar to what Ben Rothwell did with him. And I find it hard to see Ovince St. Preux bringing out the dog in himself. I think you might see OSP maybe get a takedown in the first round and somehow get the Von Flue or the St. Preux choke. But I actually think as an underdog, Shogun's a really good pick. Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Joe Lizon. Man, it's sad. The downfall of Donald Cowboy Cerrone, how recently just hasn't looked the same, and he's taken a break away from fighting, and I hope that it's rejuvenated his maybe spirits, and maybe the time was needed and we see a bit more of an improved Cowboy. I hope we do see that, because definitely a fan favourite and one of my favourites over the years. Joe Lizon, another one, man. Guy's been around forever. This guy's dangerous on the ground, but he's also really dangerous on the feet, which people don't give him credit for. I think his hands have improved so much over the years since I first saw him in the UFC. I think it's an interesting fight. If I was to pick right now, I'd probably go for Cowboy by decision. Where do we get to the prelims? Okay, all right, Andre Fiallo, very squish, but oh well, we'll deal with it. I'm going to pick Fiallo as well. I think he's looked really dangerous in his last couple of fights. I think even against the loss against Pereira, he showed that he's a dog, and I'm going to pick him to win by KO via second round knockout for him. Randy Brown against Chaos Williams. Love this fight. I think this fight could have probably been bumped up to the main event of the prelims. I think this fight is just really good. I think Chaos Williams comes in with that knockout power, and Randy Brown, I think comes in as the more technical of the two, and I think his range is going to give Chaos a lot of problems. I'd probably go for Chaos Williams decision I'd probably go for Randy Brown decision right now, if that was my pick. So yeah, I'll go with Randy Brown by maybe second round finish. I'll go with the decision. Macy Chiasson against Norma Dumont. I always struggle with this name, I'm sorry. But I've seen her fight a couple of times. I've never really been too impressed by her. Sorry. I think she's okay. I just don't think there's really that upside, I guess you could say. Norma Dumont, I think, as the favourite in this fight, I think it's probably justified. I think I'll probably go with her to win by decision, to be fair. So yeah, I'll just go with a decision in that fight. Brandon Royval against Matt Schnell, I think's a really brilliant fight. I would have loved to see this fight on the main card instead of the OSP versus Shogun fight. I think this fight's going to be high pace for as long as it lasts. I think both guys have the ability to probably get a finish in there. I'd say Royval's probably, if you was looking for a finish in this fight, you'd be looking more towards Royval. But Schnell's fucking sick as well, man. He's improved so much over the years as well. It's a tough fight. I really like Royval, and I think if you look at the two fighters right now, Royval is the one with the higher potential and the higher ceiling, probably. I think, the streak he went on, I think it was in 2019, was insane. I mean, a lot of people are in love with Kai Kara France at the moment. This guy finished him in the first round. I love Matt Schnell as well. I think he's a really entertaining fighter, the way he fights. But I'm going to go with Royval, man. I think it's going to be another decision, but I think it's going to be one of those decisions where you're like, fucking hell, give it up to both guys, because, it was a sick fight. So yeah, Royval by decision. Blagoy against Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. I don't know where to go with this fight, to be honest. I'll go with Blagoy by decision. I think de Lima could knock him out, but I just feel like Blagoy's got that sort of Oloshki factor about him where he can just grind out a win without looking too good. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Blagoy by decision. This is another fight I love. Francisco Trinaldo against Danny Roberts. You remember what Trinaldo did to Jai Herbert, and that was a shock for me. And that's the reason why I'm going to pick him in this fight as well. It's a pick 'em, obviously. Both coming in minus 105 for Danny Roberts and 115 for Francisco Trinaldo. I just feel like Trinaldo has kind of gotten to that age now where he doesn't, on the eye, he's not the most satisfying fighter to watch, but he's effective. And I think, Danny Roberts, I do think he does have some potential. But I think, this is the sort of guy that Trinaldo goes against, probably loses the first round, might lose, the first half or the second, but then somehow just gets some damage in there and gets it done. So I'm going to go with Trinaldo by a third round stoppage. I'll go with a TKO in the third round for Trinaldo. Then it's only the early prelims. I don't know if there's anything really to talk about on here. Not really. We'll go Tracy Cortez to win, Mrs. T City. But yeah, guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the rest of my picks for this UFC weekend coming up. Obviously, I'm going with Rose, and you can check out my Gaethje video from yesterday. I also did a Chito Vera versus Rob Font reaction if you want to check that out. We also reacted to the boxing from last weekend, Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor, and Oscar Valdez against Shakur Stevenson. If you're interested in that, be sure to check out the videos out on the channel. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It'd mean a whole lot. Let me know who you think is going to win in some of these UFC 274 fights and how in the comment section down below. And I'll probably see you now on Monday or Sunday with a reaction video to this card and a reaction to the Canelo fight. So hope you all have a really good weekend. I hope you take care of yourself. Don't drink too much if you're of age. And until then, I'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Peace out.